Alright, what up, y'all? It's Way Breezy here, and I'm back with another banger. I'm sorry if I sound a little congested. I got sick over this last weekend, so we're just gonna make do with the voice that we have today. Today is an interesting but extremely relevant topic, in my opinion, and that is social media's effect on relationships in 2025. I feel very strongly about this topic because I myself feel like when I am on social media and I am constantly doom scrolling, I am very much a victim of social media's psychological and mental effects on the relationships that I've been in. And I've also been on the other side of the coin where I've taken a lot of time off of social media and had a great turnaround in my relationships where things start to get a lot better because I'm not consuming what social media has to offer, you know? And without further ado, let's get into it. A very common topic in a lot of my videos, but it's also very prevalent here, is the comparison culture that is on social media. When you're on social media in a relationship, you constantly have exposure to perfect couples that have like this curated lifestyle that can make you feel like your relationship is lacking. And I feel like a lot of that just leads to unrealistic expectations and a lot of dissatisfaction with a lot of relationships, you know? I feel like a lot of relationships have this pressure to perform, you know, for your relationship online rather than to actually live with it. And I could personally tell you, a lot of my friends that are the most happiest with their girlfriends, you will never really see shit on social media. You know, you'll see a post every now and then, but they're genuinely living in the moment and nothing they do is performative like a lot of the couples that you see online. And I think that's kind of unhealthy, you know, the whole comparison battle and feeling like you need to one up your peers, you know? I also feel like, and obviously if you're a good person and a good partner, then none of this will even apply to you because it won't change how you feel towards your partner. But I'm just saying these are things that I see a lot. One of those is emotional infidelity and like micro cheating, like DMs or flirty comments or liking stories and shit like that. You know, it all seems harmless, but there's like emotional boundaries being crossed, you know what I'm saying? Where like that shit would not exist in person, you know, like that would not be a thing in the real world. But since you're on social media, it opens the door to a lot of that shit. The line between friendly and flirtatious is like blurry online, you know, and it's easier than ever to seek attention outside of your relationship. You know, I know a lot of people, and I've dealt with personally in my life situations where maybe an argument happens or some type of, not a breakup, but you guys are upset at each other, and the girl goes and posts a selfie on her Instagram, and now there's 50 dudes in her DMs that are saying they're gonna give her the world and shit like that, and you're just like, damn, I can't, what am I supposed to compete with? You know, there's 50 guys DMing her and flirting, and she's hearting messages and shit like that. Like, it's like you lost, you know, you lost her. And same thing with girls to guys, you know, a guy goes out there, posts a thirst trap, it's like, damn, you know, that's infidelity to me. And I'm sure a lot of people that are more traditional will also view it that way, you know what I'm saying? I feel like, and obviously this is mostly for like prettier girls or just girls in general, but I feel like there's an addiction to validation. Like, people start seeking external validation, like likes or comments and DMs, more than their partner. You know, when they're not feeling beautiful, no matter how many times the boyfriend or girlfriend tells them that they're beautiful, they post on social media so that everyone can give them likes and hype them up and call them beautiful, you know, and it can create a very unhealthy feeling in your relationship. You know, over posting can become a way to prove that they are something rather than finding that in their real life and finding that in their relationship. You know, it's like that common phrase where it's like, Instagram owns your girlfriend. When she's posting all those stories and shit like that, people are going to give her a lot of attention, and, you know, that owns her. You simply saying you're beautiful to a bad woman slash guy, you know, obviously it goes both ways, to a bad woman or man, that's not going to be good enough. You know, you calling them beautiful won't be good enough because they'd rather see it online from hundreds of people. And another thing that I really don't fuck with is like the lack of privacy, bro. Like, a lot of shit can make it to social media, bro. Like, oversharing about fights and like private moments or personal issues can create like so many fucking problems, bro. Taking it to a story, just got an argument, or like, I'm upset, you know, now there's people swiping up. Now you're talking to friends about some shit that should have been handled privately. You're talking about how he did you wrong and shit like that on your story, and they're telling you like, fuck him, you can leave him. That just doesn't need to go online, you know? And I feel like posting that to a story and making that an online social media thing is hella negative for the relationship. Like, it's super fucking negative for the relationship. And it opens doors for like outsiders, like friends or I guess like followers, to judge or influence your relationship. Like, one thing I've constantly hated throughout my whole dating history, and it's one thing that I've definitely been very good at avoiding, is allowing outsiders to influence my relationships. Like, I don't really let anybody's opinion on the girl that I'm with affect how I treat that girl or how I go about that relationship. And I feel like social media kind of opens that door. It kind of allows for you to post some sad shit on your story and get some people to swipe up and start conversations, and it turns into this whole wormhole. And another thing that I've always thought was genuinely fucking insane is like the amount of options that are on social media, you know, like in your feed and all that, is like completely unhealthy for your brain. Like it completely ruins your brain chemistry. Back in the day, not even back in the day, basically fucking 30 years ago, this wasn't even that long ago, you did not see 1,000 Instagram models in 30 seconds. That genuinely was not a thing. And I feel like there's like this FOMO and like temptation that gets created when you're constantly scrolling and seeing the bad bitches and you're comparing it to your girlfriend and you're like, damn, to a fucked up guy. Once again, a lot of these apply to someone that's already going to act bad in a relationship, but to that person, that's going to lead to temptation and disconnection from your partner. You know, when you're off the social media and you're not looking at all the guys with the six packs and the jawlines or the bitches with the fat ass and the big tits, when you could kind of separate yourself from that, you realize how beautiful and finite your partner is. You know, I feel like social media can ruin that for a lot of people, you know, guys and girls on this one. Dating apps and thirst traps are just a swipe away. Even in a committed relationship, it's too easy now. Like it's so easy to tempt people to, you know, be unloyal or unfaithful, and social media creates a lot of that. And another thing is the digital mistrust, you know, like constantly checking your partner's online activity can create like a lot of paranoia or like jealousy. You know, your partner liked a post that's kind of something that you didn't like, you know, and then it sparks an argument. Damn, like that shit could have just completely been avoided, you know? Oh, why'd you like this post? Or why didn't you reply to my text but you were able to post a story? You know, like there's a lot of that type of shit that goes down that's just like petty little paranoid and jealous bullshit that's created by social media that can just easily be avoided if you're not chronically online. And I also just want to preface that if you're a good person and you genuinely have your partner's heart and interest, none of this will even apply to you because you're not even going to think this way because you're in love with the person. It's never been easier to connect with someone across the world and create a beautiful connection and find your soulmate anywhere in this world. But at the same time, it's always a double-edged sword with the internet because at the same time, it's also never been easier to be unloyal, unfaithful, and have some emotional infidelity or physical infidelity that stemmed from an online relationship, you know, something social media provided. I feel like it's so easy to get manipulated by an Instagram reel or a TikTok. You're scrolling on TikTok and it's a post about like, sorry to tell you this, bro, but your partner's definitely cheating. Bro, people can act like that shit doesn't mean anything to them, but more often than not, that shit is affecting somebody's mental health. That shit's affecting the way someone thinks, you know? If someone already was overthinking a little bit and had a thought in their head, and then they saw a post that doubled down on that thought, you know, and like proved that they're thinking right, bro, people will run with that shit. That's natural human nature, is to find something that aligns with your thinking, you know? And finding it online is not the way, because the person that posted that has no fucking clue what's happening in your relationship, and that's all bad. And obviously, it wouldn't be a Way Breezy video without me giving you guys a couple of ways that I think that we can all avoid this type of thing. One very important thing to do is to set boundaries together. You know, have open conversations about what's okay and what's not okay with online behavior, because there could be something that is completely out of pocket to you and crosses a line and is considered cheating, and to your partner, they think that's okay to do, you know? And I think it's worth having a conversation about and letting them know that that makes you upset and that that's not okay, because at the end of the day, the communication is key. I think also like deciding together like what's fair game to share and where privacy is valued. You know, like if one partner is oversharing everything and the other partner shares nothing online, I feel like it can create this unhealthy, weird little thing. And just being on the same page with each other, like, hey, when we're at this date night, like this is for us. Like I don't really want social media to know that we're doing this, you know, like this is for us and I want to be in the moment and I don't want this to be posted. You know, I feel like being on the same page with that is awesome, because a lot of people find validation with being posted. Being posted is like, oh, I matter to you, you know, when it's like some people just prefer to be private, and there's also nothing wrong with that. But being on the same page and understanding your partner on that is hell of important. And I feel like prioritizing your offline connection is hella important too. Make sure you're investing more time talking to each other, laughing, and connecting in person than you are scrolling, you know? Like don't let social media even be a thing when you guys are in person, you know? Make sure you guys are tapped in with each other and really focused on each other. I think going on like little social media detoxes and just being like phone free for like a day can really help strengthen a relationship that struggles with online pressure. And of course, I know this is way easier said than done, but trust over surveillance is so key to having a healthy relationship. Avoid snooping. If you're feeling insecure, just talk about it. Like don't stalk about it, talk about it. That was a bar. Y'all can't lie, that was a bar. I feel like there needs to be some type of mutual respect and open communication that needs to occur, because that'll be like secret investigating every single time, you know? Like you could stumble upon something that could be not true, you know, but instead of talking to your partner about it, you went and created a whole argument or a whole delusional, paranoid thought process behind what your partner was doing online, instead of just talking to them about it. The online world is very cryptic, bro. It's very hard to understand certain things, so I feel like that communication and trust, general trust, is essential for a relationship. If you get done dirty, you're gonna get done dirty, and there's nothing you can do to prevent getting done dirty, so you might as well just trust. Because if you get done dirty, it's like, whew, thank God that person's out of my life. They were a piece of of shit. But if you're constantly hawking and surveillancing, you're just going to delay the inevitable if the person is a piece of shit. And if they're not, you're going to spend your time pissing them the fuck off, bro. I myself am someone who notoriously my whole fucking life has been like beyond loyal to my partner. And I know from personal experience, when I have someone surveillancing and hawking over me, it just pisses me off because it's like, damn, I'm dedicating my life to being loyal to you and fucking just over my shoulder. You know, it gets weird. And one little quick last one is don't compare, communicate. And what I mean by that is what you see on social media is curated. It's not really reality. You know, your relationship should be based on your happiness and not someone else's highlight reel. If something's bothering you, bring it up to your partner instead of bottling it up and doom scrolling your way out. Stop looking at other people's relationships and reflect on yours. And I swear to God, you'll be better off for it. So yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure you drop a like and comment down below how you guys have struggled with social media in your relationships or what you've done to overcome social media affecting your relationship. I'm very curious about that because it's been something that has always been a heavy talking point for me in every relationship that I've been in. So I want to know what you guys think. And yeah, I have a bunch of other videos that are very similar to this. We talk about a lot of mental health shit. So if you guys are interested in that, just go through my page. There's tons of shit for you guys to watch. And I will see you guys when I see you guys. Later.